Hey everybody, this is Dr. Mann. I wanted to do a quick demonstration of how I carve my amalgam for you. So I have here a already prepped 29DO. Someone did a really nice job. One of the students prepped this probably for a practical at some point, but they have nice open contacts. Their box has a really nice shape. It has that convex axial wall and everything's really nice and conservative. So this is a good example of what we're looking for on this upcoming practical. So I'm just going to place this Tofflemire band over it. I already had it assembled. I'll tighten that up. I have a little pink plastic wedge here I'm going to put in there to tighten that up. And I've already triturated a spill of amalgam here. So I'm going to get this going. The first thing that you're going to do is just get the amalgam in there. And I'm going to focus on the box. And I'm going to pick up a good bit of amalgam here in my amalgam carrier. And I'm really just going to force all of it down into that box area like that. So I'm going to pick up my smallest condenser, and I'm going to spend some time pressing this. You hear my squeaky condensing sounds. Pressing this down into those corners and nooks and crannies on my box area. I'm going to come back here on the lingual, and my goal is to really take this kind of awkward mass of amalgam and make it into one cohesive piece. I'm starting to kind of overflow onto my pulpal floor, so I'm going to go ahead and come in here. You can see this, ooh, it barely fits this tiny little amalgam condenser into this very conservative isthmus that this student prepared. You really can't have an isthmus that's smaller than your smallest condenser nib for this reason, because I need to get in there and press down with some pretty good force all across there. I'm making little circles as I do this, and I want my little circles to overlap as I slowly move all across that box area and then into this pulpal floor up into the dovetail. So just spending a little bit of time. Really want to come in here on this box and condense up against this wall. The biggest problem with under condensing is that you are left with a really brittle amalgam, and the last place that you want a brittle amalgam is in your box, because that's supporting your marginal ridge. You really don't want your marginal ridge to be brittle and break off. So for my next layer here, I'm going to pick up another bit of amalgam with my amalgam carrier. I'm working quickly, but I'm also taking some time to really condense it well and build a good foundation. So again, I'm trying to get this kind of awkward pebbly mass to behave and get down where I need it to go. I'm focusing on my box first because that's kind of the biggest area. Overlapping all my circles. It's going to be really easy to overfill this, oops, sorry about that, this isthmus and dovetail area because they are tiny. So I'm going to just spend a little bit of time pushing it down in there. I'm not quite getting rid of excess yet. I'm really focusing on getting everything to kind of come down into this area and meld those particles with my first insertion of amalgam. So you can see I switched nibs because I was having a hard time getting that to behave. But I need to use a little bit more force as I do this. And I want it to go from being that loose, useless amalgam to becoming a part of this mass that's all connected. Spend a little bit more time down here overfilling. But I'm going to overfill one more time. And I should probably hurry so that I can still pick it up. Don't be afraid to change plans when you realize that your material is not behaving the way that you want it to behave, because you're relying on that material to accomplish something pretty important, have the qualities that you want that material to have to behave in a certain way. So don't use something that's not going to work for you. So just for the sake of overfilling, I'm going to do one last little insertion there. And I'm going to come back. I kind of want to hear that squeaky condensation sound to know I did it again. Trying to stay on this camera is a little bit easier said than done when you're really focused on a tiny spot. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my next condenser. Listening for that squeaky sound and really trying to, you almost want it to be flat across these ridges. I know and you know, in the end we want beautiful anatomy, but to get the strength up against those cavo surface margins, you really need to spend some time doing this above the level that you're going to carve down to. So it might seem kind of messy and it might seem kind of time consuming, like why add all that extra if you're not even going to use it? But it really has more to do with getting these amalgam particles to have the characteristic of having strength and not being brittle, and really amalgamating them together into a single mass. And you can't really do that if you don't spend time really condensing things. So out here at the edges, it's really important, especially for your marginal ridge. And you can see how high that is compared to the marginal ridge of my molar. So I'm going to have to drop my marginal ridge considerably, and that's expected. That's a skill you will have to be good at and have a plan of attack for that. And the real trick is that you know where to stop. And that is always going to be the height of the neighboring marginal ridge. You can do a little bit of that manipulation before the band is off, but you're going to also have to spend some time manipulating that after the band is removed, and I'll show you how I do that. So you can see how this is really flattened out. I'm not going to be able to get into those really small areas with this giant condenser, but I am going to spend a little time here, especially on this marginal ridge, really making it strong. And I'm sure some of you are going, you're taking too long, it's not going to be carvable. But it will be. And I know I'm doing this bench top and that kind of seems like cheating, but I can't really figure out how to film that in a way that is easily done. So we're going to do it this way.